In this world, gods exist, but they all vanished into other worlds. Those known as Kashi are the only ones that can return the gods to this world by confining them in beads called Sai. A mysterious man speaks to our protagonist named Ichiyo, and he shows him a technique called Totoka. The man tells Ichiyo to pound every detail of the technique into his mind because it will allow him to capture any god. Once Ichiyo becomes a Kashi, he will be able to make any god his. He will even be able to bring back the legendary 4 evil gods to this world. Most importantly for Ichiyo, this will give him the power to free his adopted father from his pillar. Years later, a man named Tenko comes flying out of a fountain, and he greets the gatekeepers. The keepers wonder where Ichiyo is, so Tenko explains that he had a hard time coming back because he can't swim. Tenko panics because it's his fault that Ichiyo drowned, but he can't stop himself from laughing when he sees how funny Ichiyo's face looks. Tenko tries to wake him up, but it's no use. Tenko must resort to mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but Ichiyo wakes up just in time to knock him out. The two argue about the importance of learning how to swim, but Ichiyo sends Tenko off a bridge and tells him to learn how to swim through the clouds. Ichiyo yells at a clerk for sending him to a place with no gods, but it turns out to be his fault. The clerk offers to pay big money for the beads Ichiyo already has, but he doesn't want to give those up. His mistake is seen by everyone, and they call him the infamous failure. A guy named Rakan feeds the pair, but the guys argue because Tenko won't stop teasing Ichiyo about being a failure. Rakan reminds Ichiyo that he isn't some homeless shelter, and he's actually a skilled trainer. Ichiyo refuses to receive any training from Rakan, so Rakan offers to retrain Tenko as well. Tenko thinks that Ichiyo needs Kashi training more than anything, so they just start arguing again. Rakan thinks about how strange their relationship is because Tenko is Ichiyo's servant god. As the name suggests, servant gods are supposed to be completely obedient to their masters. They would even take their own lives if their masters ordered it. However, Tenko and Ichiyo act more like friends. Ichiyo's other servant god named Kaka appears and asks to be fed. Rakan tries to feed her instead, but she quickly rejects him. Tenko calls Rakan a goofball, and he can't believe that he's a serious trainer. Rakan is insulted, so he vows to show them what he can do. They go to visit a servant god named Gyuki, who Rakan taught everything he knows about farming. Gyuki demonstrates what he's doing by first crushing a stone into dust. Ichiyo thinks it's pretty boring work for a god, but this world is covered in rocks, and preparing fields so farmers can grow food is important. Long ago, when 8 million gods were around, this world was abundant with flowers, greenery, and food. However, once the gods disappeared, the land became barren and lifeless. Gyuki prepares to bury a worm that will return health to the land, but Rakan points out that that worm is cheap and it won't yield a decent harvest. Gyuki was only doing what his master told him to do, and his master named Bui arrives. Ichiyo instantly calls Bui a scammer because he was going to use the cheap worm to make it look like the land was healthy, and then he was going to sell it as farmland. Ichiyo says that he will have to report this, so Bui blames Gyuki for exposing him. Bui turns his anger towards Ichiyo, and he recognizes him as the worst Kashi in history. Bui starts making fun of Ichiyo's servant gods because they look untrained, but Kaka kicks him right in the face. Kaka beats him up good, so he leaves, but he gives something to Gyuki first. Gyuki explains that his master isn't mad because of what he gave him, and Ichiyo asks if he can have it. Gyuki refuses to just give away his master's gift, but he takes a liking to Ichiyo's necklace. Rakan tells him that it's a ridiculous request, but Ichiyo shocks everyone when he agrees to the trade. Everyone tries to convince him not to trade his Sai, so Ichiyo just gives it to Gyuki for one day. After they leave, Rakan wonders why he wanted the item so bad, so Ichiyo shows him that Bui was actually threatening Gyuki. He gave him a discount card for a meat market as a threat to sell him as a cow to be slaughtered. Rakan is disgusted by Bui's behavior towards his servant god, but everyone is amazed by Ichiyo for taking the card away before Gyuki noticed. Gyuki admires the Sai beads, but Bui arrives to wonder where he got them from. Gyuki explains that he's supposed to give it back to Ichiyo, but Bui has plans of his own. Our group finishes up a meal provided by Rakan, but something is wrong with Kaka. Rakan panics as it's clear that something is happening to Ichiyo's Sai beads, and Ichiyo determines that Kaka's contract is being broken. Kaka transforms as Ichiyo loses control over her, and she takes off. Back with Bui, he finishes a ritual that breaks the contract between servant and master. His goal is to ruin Ichio, as he is sure that he won't even be Akashi after this is found out. Just then, Gyuki panics and Bui exits his house to find the transformed Kaka. She unleashes her voice, so Gyuki begs his master to run away as he begins to transform. Gyuki goes on a rampage as he is now under Kaka's control, and Bui begs for his life. Kaka orders the beast to eliminate Bui, but a white-haired man comes out of nowhere to save him. Bui is shocked when he realizes that this guy is Tenko, and Tenko tells him not to address him so casually. Kaka tells Tenko to get out of the way so she can punish Bui, and Tenko agrees that the world would be better off without the jerk. Ichio arrives to scold Tenko for encouraging Kaka, and he orders Kaka to stand down. Kaka is determined to make Bui pay for insulting her master, but Ichio threatens to punish her, and she is left speechless. He tells her that the guards will be arriving soon, and she will receive a terrible punishment if she hurts a human. Kaka begins to cry, but her voice does major damage to everyone. Bui gives Ichio his beads back, so he begins to forge the contract. Ichio performs the Totoka, and the gods are left in amazement. Even Bui is in awe of the ritual, and he can't believe that this is the infamous failure. Tenko explains that the dancing portion of the Totoka is not why Ichio is known as a failure. He tells Bui to cover his ears because the ritual is not over and the final part is really intense. Ichio begins the singing portion of his Totoka, but it's not as nice as the dance. It's more like screaming, but it gets the job done. This is no ordinary Totoka, and it's because Ichio can't sing to save his life. Normally the gods are charmed by the Totoka, and it leads to the contract being formed. Ichio, on the other hand, is completely tone deaf. His ritual uses his bad singing to render the gods unconscious, and the contract is formed using force. Gyuki has turned into a powerless baby, but Tenko says that he was lucky. If he was hit by Ichio's song directly, he would have died. Bui is stunned to learn all this, and he wonders just how strong Ichio really is. Surviving Ichio's song means that his servant gods must also be extremely powerful, but Tenko says that he's just his normal self. Later, Rakan explains that he can't turn Gyuki back to his old self, so he will be taking care of him from now on. He was Bui's source of income, so Bui will have to earn his keep without him. A fight breaks out between the tiny gods, which lightens the mood, but a very angry man appears to take Ichio away. His name is Kanshori, and he brings Ichio to see Ridikai. Ichio explains that he couldn't find any gods in the area of Japan that he went to, but the guys say that he has it all wrong. They explain that most gods have left for a festival that they attend every year, but certain gods stayed behind to stand guard. Ichio is confused, so they go on to say that they didn't send Ichio to Japan to find some weak gods. Ichio is stunned as he realizes that they sent him there to find the 4 evils. More earthquakes have been occurring in this world, so they must bring back the 4 evils so they can become the pillars that hold up the land. Right now, Ichio's grandfather named Hakugo is supporting the world as its pillar. It's taking a great toll on him, however, and it's uncertain if he will be able to last for much longer. This is why Ichio must return to Japan, so Ichio agrees to go. The guys then wonder what will happen first. Will the entire world sink, or will Ichio bring back the 4 evils? Sometime later, a boy enjoys some free time, but he's surprised to see a body floating in the water. The boy brings Ichio home, where Ichio realizes that Tenko must have let him go while teleporting again. Tenko appears to take credit for making sure that Ichio was brought to this home safely, but Ichio scolds him for putting them in this situation in the first place. Some little old lady thanks the ocean god for protecting Ichio, and she explains that the ocean god recovers people that are lost at sea. Ichio, of course, is pretty curious about this god, so the old granny tells Ryo to take him to the shrine. This place is a small island in Japan, so Ichio is glad that they at least made it to their destination. Tenko tries to take credit for that too, but he just ends up paying the price. The little nerd says he has a sister, so Ichio wonders where she is right now. Ryo explains that she's on another island because she goes there every year to take pictures of some birds. Ryo says that he doesn't get sad when she's not around because he has all the other islanders to comfort him. Apparently, according to this kid, everyone on the island looks out for each other like their family. Ryo's sister gets angry about stuff when she's home, so he prefers when she's gone. Ryu excitedly shows them his sister's pictures though, and it becomes pretty clear that he actually admires her a lot. Eventually they arrive at the shrine, but there isn't really anything special about it. Tenko doesn't detect the evil god there, but he does sense a strong presence. Ryu kinda feels the same way, and he explains that it feels like something precious was sealed away in the shrine. Upon returning to the house, the guys find Bowie getting absolutely hammered. The old lady has no idea who this guy is, and the guys also deny knowing him out of embarrassment. Bowie followed them to Japan because he heard that Ichio got a job from the bigwigs and he wants a piece. Unfortunately for him, Ichio explains that the job doesn't pay well and it was just forced on him. Ryu's kind of a little wimp, so he wonders if the guys are scared of their dangerous job. Ryu wonders if they are worried about not being able to return home one day because they seem totally fine with the danger. Ichio admits to him that it can be scary sometimes, but as long as he has people waiting for him back home, he will go wherever he needs to go and he won't lose to his fears. That night, Ichio is infuriated by Bowie's incessant snoring, but he gets a devious idea. He then finds Tenko outside and says that he just couldn't sleep because it was hot inside, but we see that he tied up Bowie. Tenko is also having a hard time sleeping, but it's because he hears a bell whenever he closes his eyes. Just then, the guys must dodge a flying backpack. A girl is furious because she thinks that they are just hoodlums, and she tells them that they can't just treat her house like a gang hideout. Ichio quickly tells her that they're actually tourists and her brother's letting them stay there, but the girl is totally confused. She explains that she's the only one that lives in this house, but more importantly, she doesn't even have a little brother. Everyone rushes into the house as a storm is coming, and the girl forgives them for trespassing. Before the guys can ask for more information on the little boy, the girl gives them a bunch of emergency gear. She's going to force these guys outside so they can gather the elderly living alone and evacuate them to the community center. Ichio calls her a real saint for doing all this, but she explains that she's just really paying them back for something. The group braves the horrible weather, and they successfully gather everyone at the community center. It kinda seems more like a party with everybody getting so drunk, and the girl gives Ichio the local sake. The girl doesn't partake in all the shenanigans, and she explains that she's actually from Tokyo. She really gets along with everyone, but it's only because the islanders let anyone into their family. The girl then reveals that she nearly died when she first came to the island. She was out taking pictures on some smaller island that's nearby when a brutal storm blew in, much like the one that is happening right now. She fell into the water, but amazingly she washed up in the cave where the shrine is. That's where Ryu found her, and the islanders ended up taking her in. So that's why she feels like she owes her life to the island and everyone on it. Ichio once again denies trespassing, and he explains that they washed up from the ocean just like she did. Thankfully, the old granny confirms his entire story, and Ichio's glad to hear that the girl actually does know Ryu. The granny has a good chuckle as she reminds the girl that Ryu's her brother, but the girl has no clue what she's talking about. She really starts to think that the old lady's becoming senile, but Grandma points out that Ryu is only on the island whenever the girl is. What's even more incriminating is that he's always carrying around her basic and dumb-looking pictures. The girl explains that she just gave them to the kid because he was interested in them, but she doesn't know where the kid came from. Ichio begins to piece things together like a detective, and he wonders if the ocean god is a female. The girl confirms that it is, and Ichio realizes that Ryo was talking about two different people when he mentioned his sister. Just then, a man warns that the storm is about to get a lot worse. They have no choice but to evacuate to the mountain, which works out fine for Ichio because he wanted to check something. No one has seen Ryu for a while, but Ichio tells the girl not to worry because he has a feeling about something. Ichio then has Tenko transform, and the guys say that they have found the culprit behind the deadly winds. A quick look into the sky shows Ryu covered in lightning. Ryu shows his true form, which is some tiny monster, and Ichio can tell that he's in pain. Ryu is actually what is known as a Raiju, but for some reason he doesn't have horns. Raiju call upon the lightning to feast on it, so Tenko determines that without his horns, he must be suffering from starvation. That's when Ichio realizes Ryu's horns must be what's inside the shrine, so he rushes there, but Tenko stops him from going because the shrine will soon be submerged in water. Tenko tells Ichio that he will need his help, but he thinks that they should just let the Raiju wear himself out. Bowie actually agrees that they should just wait until later, but Ichio just can't ignore Ryu's cries of pain. Ichio really swallows his pride to politely ask Tenko for help, so Tenko parts the seas like Moses and creates a path to the shrine. Ichio opens the box in the shrine to find Ryo's horns, but they're tiny, and that means that Ryo must have been an infant when he washed up on the island. Ichio determines that the goddess of the island probably hid them in the shrine when she saved Ryu. Raiju have the ability to control the weather, so the goddess probably wanted to keep the little brat in check. Unfortunately, breaking the seal has caused Ryo to completely lose control, but luckily Tenko is there to protect the guys. The two clash with each other, but Tenko becomes infuriated when Ryo attacks him. Tenko's anger is enough to crack Ichio's necklace, so Ichio tries to calm him down. Tenko doesn't even come close to listening as he knocks a little furball out of the sky and he tells Ryo to take a good look at how to really control water. Ichio demands for Tenko to stop, but Tenko just tells his master to step back and watch. Tenko then prepares to end Ryo's life, but Ichio just knocks him away with his boot. Ichio offers to give Ryo his horns back, but it also means he will have to leave the island. Ryo shows that he doesn't want his horns back, and Tenko points something out. The kid has been spoiled his entire life, so he's probably afraid of change. Unfortunately, Ryo's body is at its limits, and so is the island, so there's no other way he can stay. Ryo becomes very depressed because he must wear his horns to survive, but Ichio tells him not to worry because he can just come with him. Ryo eventually joins the group, and Ichio straight up just lies to the girl. She wants to know where Ryo is, but Ichio just tells her that the boy left the island. Ichio is some kind of compulsive liar, and he tells the girl that Ryo was inspired by her pictures. They made him want to explore the world, and that's what he's doing. The girl still wishes she knew where the kid came from, so Ichio simply says that he's a child of the island. Back in the other world, the bigwigs go to speak with some lady named Queen Tekai. She just finished up her conversation with Hakuga, but Hakuga made the guys very tense. The guys say they just couldn't help it because Hakuga's an ultimate divine beast on the same level as the Dragon King. Kanchori gives her a gift from his son who's trying to shoot a shot with her, but Ridokai is curious about something else. He wants to know if the queen has made up with Ichio, but her dumbfounded expression makes it clear that she hasn't. Thanks for watching my recap, subscribe to the channel for more videos.